Every time I put myself behind my screen and start yet another journey into an adventure that I know is going to tug at my emotions, I lean into it, and I go in anyway. I let myself be pushed and pulled to the point where I feel emotionally drained, but for some reason I keep going back for more. We all do this. But why do we put ourselves through these things if we know how it makes us feel? Is it because we want to experience the hurt or angst that makes us feel alive and engaged in a world where emotions are often the one thing that crosses cultures and languages without needing to speak a word? Maybe it's because it breaks that monotonous drone of our everyday lives. It makes us stop for a moment or an hour and take in our lives for what it is. Maybe we don't have it so bad after all, or maybe we miss feeling this way about someone or something so much that it ignites a sense of comfort and familiarity that we long for so dearly. After all, we all want to feel important to someone and want someone to be important to us. It could even be because feeling hurt or getting emotional grounds us, because that's real and it hits more home than a happy ending ever does. But when we do break through that moment, through that pain or hardship, we're not just experiencing happiness, but relief. A relief that we might wish for from our daily lives. A tear in the repetition and the tedium. These kind of stories are also more memorable and they stick with us long after we've stepped away from the screen. That sensation lingers and we keep coming back to the way that it made us feel because it makes us more human. It gives us something to bond over and feel closer to each other even when we never speak about what we've experienced. Gris, probably pronounced Gris, since this is a Spanish developer, is one of those experiences. Going into the game, I thought I knew what to expect. Something great to look at, something with songs to enforce the atmosphere and a story that would leave me either broken or relieved. But Gris is all of that, and also more. Now what makes an atmosphere? The art, the music, the story, or the combination thereof that forms the core experience itself. Dropped into a world of abstract forms and backdrops, we land in this strange place where trees grow waterfalls, lights determine the solidity of objects, and where up and down is interchangeable. The name itself, Gris, is a perfect analogy of what the game presents. That is, that there are no absolutes. There's not a black and a white, a clear evil or good, but there's this grey area in between where nothing is certain, but redemption is always a possibility. Stained backgrounds and blotches of paint bring the backdrops alive in a way that no fine detail can. And it speaks for itself too and tells us that this is not something to just look at or listen to. These are not just stains of drip paint. Every imperfection tells a story of unpredictability and fragility. Forests, buildings, plains, and even underwater, we traverse a world that means something to the protagonist personally. Her emotions are tied to this place, and the colors exude a character of their own. Masterfully crafted for every event, the game gives us the darkest of darks and the brightest lights. We feel the absolute splendor of freedom and the pure claustrophobia of being trapped. Gris presents us with colors that are vivid and dramatic, wrapped around objects and vistas that speak for the moment. It's the kind of experience that makes us sit closer to the screen to try and eliminate everything else within our peripheral view so that we can truly be a part of this world. We turn up the volume on our headphones and drown out the life outside the game, because for these few moments while we're playing it, we don't want to think about what's out there, but only what's right here. The animation is delicate and warm, with even the smallest things like a splash of water with its own kind of beauty and energy. Fragility is a clear theme within the game, not only for the protagonist but also her surroundings, which essentially is a part of her in some way. Gris speaks of the darkness and the light inside. about finding your voice. The literal leitmotifs in the game translate to figurative life experiences that we all face, and this is where the game really succeeds. The music is a blend of frail tones backed by heavy bass that never lets you forget about the darker uncertainties. We go from comfortable and relaxing settings to tense and daunting experiences, all within moments of one another. The relief of an open space can quickly turn into a jolting and heart-tightening moment in the blink of an eye. It's a masterful soundtrack by Berlinist that deserves to be on your playlist. Gris is never too abrupt or unpredictable in its events, but it's also not insipidly slow or uninteresting. We have 100 things to look at, absorb and appreciate throughout the game, and it plays out in a theatrical manner. The sound itself plays into the story just as well as the music does, almost as though the environments are dictated by it. Small things have a big impact here too, like the fragile sounds as you land on mushrooms, and the voices of the animals that break some of the long and lonely strips that you move through. Small details play immense roles in the game, such as the close and far views at different intervals of the journey to establish intimacy with the character, but also pull you away from her as not to lose sight of the bigger picture. Gris herself is a silent protagonist, and although this is no new concept, with many mute characters specifically female before her, and some with very similar experiences, Gris is a little different. She's not out to fight an enemy with physical force or anything as straightforward as that. She's uplifting the world around her as she progresses through it. We get the sense that the more she allows herself to be, the more the world around her becomes. Nothing is spoken or explained, but nothing has to be. All it requires from us as an audience and the player is to feel. All these themes play into a very metaphorical story that doesn't tell the tale of love, betrayal or sacrifice, but digs deep and tells one of ascendance and peace within ourselves. Gris is a platformer of sorts, but it's also not really one at all. Sure, it has all the traits of a platformer, but the design takes it well beyond simply that. The controls are simple but intuitive and silky smooth. Character animations are impressive with detailed and reactive sprites, making Gris feel all the more alive. The game contains a number of different puzzles and tasks, from the classic traversal puzzles to the more complex ones that require a bit of thinking. Complex, however, might be a bit of a strong word, as none of them are truly difficult, but instead serve as a slight test that is small enough not to distract from what's important, but big enough to give you a bit of a challenge in the gameplay. Then of course there's the singing feature, which quite literally breathes life into the experience. The story of Gris isn't one that can truly be explained or talked about any more than you can write a synopsis about the way you feel. It's a different experience for each person, and it goes further than the basic setting of the plot, then conflict, and then finally the resolution. We all go into things differently, and so too do we all come out of them not quite the same. The story of Gris is your own interpretation and translation. Do not be consumed by the dark, but rather seek out the light, and let it guide you towards personal, emotional, or spiritual flourishing. Tragic, frail, and dramatic, all without pushing a message. Gris should be applauded for being itself and no more, both the game and the character whom it revolves around. Now if you liked what I had to say, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos about games as works of art.